Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Hi there, Ezra Levant is my name. I'm the president of Rebel News, and what a pleasure it is to be with you today. As you know, every day at 12 noon Eastern Time, either myself or my friends Sheila Gunn Reed and David Menzies sit in this chair, and we do a live stream, which is, maybe I take the word stream too literally because it is sort of stream of consciousness for me, which sometimes irritates people. But I do like to cover the news of the day. And we used to do this on YouTube, and then they demonetized us, and then they censored us for a week. So we said, you know, there's other fish in the sea. And we have discovered other wonderful platforms. So we have been allowed back onto YouTube, although they're still demonetizing us. I should tell you, on YouTube right now there are 433 people watching, and it's a pleasure to see you. Thank you for being here. YouTube has 1.45 million of our subscribers, so I wish we knew your names and contact numbers for when they finally delete us. You can go to rebelnews.com and just type it in there if you like. I'm also pleased that we're on Odyssey, which is also a streaming system, and they have something called Hyper Chats, which is like a YouTube Super Chat. The difference is you pay in crypto, a currency called Library that is native to the Odyssey platform. So it's a smaller site for us, only 23 people watching, but it's fun because, especially if you like the crypto, they have those hyper chats. Like I say, YouTube has demonetized us, so we don't have any super chats. And finally, we're streaming on rumble.com, and right now we have 321 people watching there. So I feel like if YouTube does the unethical thing and deletes us after 6 years of work and building up 1.45 million subscribers, if they do what I fear they will do, we will live on in these other platforms. And in fact, just yesterday we were testing another platform that is very built with free speech infrastructure in mind. By that, it's resistant to the kind of censorship that you might see in other tech platforms. It's Friday, and I have to say a lot of the news these days happens on the weekend, because a lot of the news involves two things that sometimes overlap. The first is protests against the lockdowns. That often happens on a weekend. And the second thing is, what else happens on the weekend? Church. And for some reason, and I'll let you come to your own conclusions, in my view, anti-Christian animus is an obvious possibility. Authorities just really enforce the lockdown brutally against Christian churches. So I believe that this weekend will be a low watermark in terms of anti-Christian police activity. I can't even believe I'm even saying those words. I mean, take me back in time 18 months, anti-Christian police activity. I would say you're talking about China, you're talking about Iran, you're talking about Pakistan. Now I'm talking about Canada. In fact, I'm talking about the province that used to boast about being the freest. You know Alberta's motto, in Latin, Fortis et Liber, which is the words from our national anthem, strong and free. Do you have a short video from Artur Pawlowski? You might not know that name, but I bet you know his look and for sure his voice. He speaks with a Polish accent, as you might guess, having come from that country. Poland is a country that is at the crossroads of so many battles for centuries. If you know your history, that's where the siege of Vienna, it was obviously in Vienna, Austria, but it was the Poles who smashed the siege of Vienna. It was the Poles who were, frankly, Hitler's first victims when they invaded in September 1939. The Poles then had the Nazi occupiers replaced by the Soviet occupiers. So the Poles have been in the middle of the battle for Western civilization and liberties for centuries. And I don't even know my Polish history. I'm just telling you the things off the top of my head. Of course, the great Polish Pope, John Paul II, instrumental in having his country rise up against Soviet domination. So I say that because I think all of the things I've just mentioned, the historical battle against the Ottoman Turks at the Siege of Vienna, 1683. Soviet domination, Nazi domination. I think all of those are in the mind and in the consciousness and the background of Arthur's mind as police come to his church and say, lock down. I mean, let me put it this way. If Pope John Paul II can stand up to Soviet tanks, now they weren't literally putting the tanks against the Pope, but morally he stood up against the Soviet tanks, do you think some little bylaw officer in Calgary is going to bowl over Arthur? So which clip do you have? Okay, well, let's just play a bit. I think I'm actually behind in watching my Arthur vids. So let's roll this one, and how about wait for me to say stop? So keep rolling until I say stop. I don't think I've seen this one before. This is Artur Pawlowski. By the way, yeah, the secret word, that's exactly right. By the way, we have 1,058 Fight the Fines clients. I don't know, did I say that on air yet? I don't know if I think I only found out that statistic yesterday. So we have 1,058 clients in Fight the Fines. And I think we've already won, is it 26 or 28 of them? Because the Crown, just when we show up, the Crown prosecutor says, oh, I'm not prosecuting that. Get out of here, you're gone, you're free. So we've actually had 26 victories without firing a shot. And I think, frankly, there's a very high likelihood that all of them, or 90+% of them, will just be wiped out because there is a constitutional principle, a principle in criminal justice, principle in all justice. Have you ever heard the phrase, a right to a speedy trial? Justin, have you ever heard that phrase, speedy trial? That doesn't mean the trial itself is quick, although a trial that's too long has problems. It means, can I get the trial already? You charged me, you accused me, you blackened my name, you stressed me out, you gave me the stigma of a charge. Can I get my day in court, please? All right, you arrested me, you came to my place, you gave me the summons, you harassed me, you sent the cops. Let me have my day in court to meet my accuser and make my case. And in fact, the right to put the Charter of Rights on the screen, if you please. Is that section 11 or 12? You know, I don't know. I know section 2 very well, and section 6 and 15 and 7 and 8. I never practiced a lot of criminal law myself, so let's just call it up instead of guessing from memory. You have the right to be free from cruel and unusual treatment, often called cruel and unusual punishment. And that goes to these fines too, because you're a kid out skateboarding in the middle of a park by yourself and some lockdown cop gives you a fine for $1,500. Would you say that's cruel and unusual? You bet. So the dollar amount of these fines is likely unconstitutional. Yeah, just Charter of Rights. I think it's section 11 or 12 or something. It's not popping up, eh? You have the right to a speedy trial. And now sometimes the defendant, the suspect, the accused, can delay things himself. And so you cannot yourself delay things, and then say to the judge, Judge, it's delayed, let me go. If you have been reasonable, but it's the cops who have delayed, or the prosecutor who has delayed, or the courts have delayed, then a judge would say, this man did not have his speedy trial. He can go. And I can tell you that here we go, thank you so much. They changed how you find it, eh? Maybe because we're showing it on TV too much. So you see section 2, those are my favorites. Those are called the fundamental freedoms. You see the big ones. A, conscience and religion. B, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, expression, freedom of the press. That's the one we really operate in a lot. C, peaceful assembly. That's what churches want to do. D, freedom of association. Democratic rights, blah, blah, blah. Mobility rights, that's your ability to move around. So these quarantine hotels are illegal. Legal rights, yeah, here we go. Section 8, everyone has the right to be secure against unreasonable search or seizure. That's when they tried to get on our houseboat. 9, everyone has the right to be not to be arbitrarily detained or imprisoned. Well, they detained us arbitrarily on that houseboat. 10, everyone has the right on arrest or detention to be informed promptly of the reasons therefor. So that's why you say, am I under arrest? And if so, for what? To retain and instruct counsel without delay, to have the validity of the detention determined by way of habeas corpus and to be released. So you got, but look, here we go. Proceedings in criminal and penal matters. Any person charged with an offense has the right to be informed without unreasonable delay of the specific offense, to be tried within a reasonable time. So is it reasonable that you get a COVID lockdown fine in April of 2020, and now it's almost May 2021, and your memory is fading, and you're trying to move on with your life, and this is hanging? Is it really reasonable? And do you really think you're going to get into court next year? So at what point in time do you say, Your Honor, my rights were violated? Now look at 11E, the right not to be denied reasonable bail. That was Pastor Coates. Scroll down a little bit. Where, is it 12? That's yeah, 12. Everyone has the right not to be subjected to any cruel and unusual treatment or punishment. I put it to you, like we have a Fight the Fines case. I don't know all of them. We have 1,058. I just don't know them all. You got a family. They had a birthday party. It's a big family. I think they had like 6 or 7 kids or whatever. Cops think it's a big gathering. Cops come in, give them tickets for the birthday party. It's a family birthday. It's just a big family. And the family's not wealthy. They're a low-income family. And you whack them with like 4 tickets or whatever it was, like $900 tickets. That is cruel. That is unusual. That's cruel treatment, cruel punishment. It doesn't fit the crime. So I believe giving that family $4,000 or whatever it is in tickets for a family birthday, I believe that's cruel and unusual. I believe it's excessively punitive. And you know what? You're some wealthy cabinet minister like, who's that crook? Rod Phillips, the former finance minister of Ontario. You're flying down to St. Bart's, the richest island in the Caribbean, to party over Christmas. You're lying to your constituents. So give him an $800 COVID fine. He laughs. He leaves $500 tips at the champagne bar. But you give a family a $1,000 fine. You destroy them. Anyway, we have 1,058 cases. Artur Pawlowski was the first. He was our very first case. We were still figuring it out. We won that case for him. He's one of the 26 we've won. They hate Artur. They keep giving him more and more and more tickets. So Artur came back. He said, I got some more tickets. Can you help me out again? Well, you know, we weren't really thinking we'd have repeat customers in the Fight the Fines business, but sure, come aboard, we said. Sheila did an update on him in December, I think. I think he got like another dozen tickets. But now it's going down. So let me introduce you, without further ado, and I don't think I properly introduced you, Adam Sos, our new talent in Calgary. He's doing a great job. So here he is. I have not watched this video yet, but without further ado, let's take a look.
Out of this property immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out.
Communist, fascist. I do not cooperate with Nazis. Talk to my lawyer. You're not allowed here. You're not welcomed here. Awesome. And I'm not going to cooperate with Gestapo like you, okay?
Remember when Art told the police to come back with a warrant? Well, they did. A secret one obtained in secret, using secret evidence. Here's the warrant. We just saw it today. It's an order which Alberta Health Services obtained without notice against Artur.
They're coming very heavy. They're bringing documents. They're bringing SWAT team. They're bringing health inspectors, police officers, and the bylaw officers. But there is a good news. Rebel News decided to help us, and they're hiring the best lawyers in the country to keep me out of jail. If you want to help, please to go to safeartur.com and you can help me stay out of jail.
Rebels, we have an absolute emergency on our hands. We have another pastor in Alberta who could potentially face jail time, just like Pastor James Coates of Grace Life Church. This pastor is known to you. Actually, he's known to the whole world. Pastor Artur Pawlowski was our very first Fight the Fines case after he received lockdown tickets for feeding the homeless outside in Calgary, Alberta. Something the police called an illegal gathering. Art continues to rack up tickets because he refuses to stop feeding the homeless, and he doesn't wear a mask when he does this outside. Art also doesn't limit his church service to the 15% of fire code required by the city, and the city hates him for it. But Art's got an excellent lawyer named Sarah Miller who is working for him at no cost to him through our Rebel News Civil Liberties Initiative, fightthefines.com. Today we found out that Artur needs Sarah's help now more than ever, which means that we need your help to pay for it all, so Art can do what he does, and that is take care of the least of our brothers here in Calgary. Friends, this is an absolute 5-alarm fire, and we need to save Artur. Here's what's happening. As you know, police visited Art's church on Holy Saturday, and he cast them out, not allowing them to disrupt services. That video went viral.
Please get out. Get out of this property. Immediately get out.
Okay.
Get out of this property immediately. Out. I don't want to hear anything. Out of this property immediately. I don't want to hear a word. Out. Out. Out of this property immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out. Out!
Even after that video embarrassed not only the province of Alberta's Alberta Health Services, but also the City of Calgary Police on an international scale, they came back. They're out to show Art who's boss.
Well, friends, we have a SWAT team in our church again, coming, authorities. So I'm going to go out and see what they want. Yes.
Hello, Walter.
Hi, Arthur. I wonder if I could just give you a couple please of the court order. This is for you. It basically outlines the fact we have the right to enter today. At least explain the order, serve the order, and then we can stand at the back.
No, you can contact.
stand at the
No.
back during the service
You
and
can
just
contact my lawyer.
We'll
Okay,
be
my
back in
lawyer
3
takes care
minutes,
of
and then
this.
we can be out of
I'm
there.
not interested to listen to any word you have to say. I do not cooperate with the Gestapo.
Remember when Art told the police to come back with a warrant? Well, they did. A secret one obtained in secret, using secret evidence. Here's the warrant. We just saw it today. It's an order which Alberta Health Services obtained without notice against Artur. It's their response to his Get a Warrant video from over Easter weekend.
Immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out!
What this means is that an Alberta Health Services inspector will now be exempt from Section 176.2 of the Canadian Criminal Code, which prevents the disruption of religious service in progress. So an Alberta Health Services inspector will be able to enter Artur's church and interrupt ongoing service. It's unbelievable, but it's true. Here's the document we received just today, filed in secret on April 23rd, just a couple days ago, against Artur and his Street Church Evangelism Ministries International Foundation. It was filed in Court of Queen's Bench in Calgary. Here's what the warrant allows. Number 1. The respondent Art Pawlowski, together with any other person at the property, and they list the address of the church here, shall grant access to any executive officer as defined in the Act in order for him or her to attend the property without notice during the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to allow the executive officer to exercise his or her powers under Section 59 of the Act. So, the health inspector can come and disrupt church service all day, every day essentially. It goes on, look at this. In the event the respondent Artur Pawlowski or any other person refuses to grant any executive officer access to the premises, hinders or interferes with the executive officer or the exercise of his or her powers, then any members of any police services shall be permitted to accompany and assist the executive officer and use such reasonable force as they consider appropriate to gain access to the premises to allow the executive officer or anyone assisting the executive officer to exercise his or her pursuant to Section 59 of the Act. What this means is that they can just arrest Pastor Artur Pawlowski and charge him, just like they did to Pastor James Coates. Believe it or not, it gets worse. The cops can take him straight to jail and use as much force as they see fit to do so if he stops him from entering the church service. Again, just like Pastor Coates, off you go to jail for the crime of church? Let's keep reading. Upon there being reasonable grounds to believe that the respondent Art Pawlowski or any other person has breached any terms of the court order, any member of law enforcement is authorized forthwith to arrest that person, restrain him or her, and bring him or her at the earliest possible time before a justice of the Court of Queen's Bench to show why he or she should not be held in contempt of court, provided that such a person shall not be arrested unless he or she has been previously served with a copy of the court's order by a member of law enforcement or an executive officer, and, upon being given an opportunity to do so, does not thereby obey.
Adam's doing a great job. He's going through that document. You can see that document for yourself at saveartur.com, and that's how he spells his name, ARTUR.com. I want to say something about ex parte orders. That's a Latin word which basically means without the other party. And I'm not going to go deep on this like we did the other day. Justin, were you here when we went deep on the Anton Pillar order? Or was that was Efron? So Anton Pillar was a German company whose own staff were stealing documents and selling them to a competitor, and one of their own agent, their British agents, were stealing from Anton Pillar and giving the secret computer blueprints to their rivals. Some staff had compunction about this and said, "Whoa, I got to tell you, there's industrial espionage going on." So they convinced a judge to give them a special order granting them access without notice to the thieves. The idea being, if you tip off the thieves, they might, scurry away, destroy the evidence. It's an extremely high burden of proof to convince a judge to let you do something without the other side there, because an essential tenet of our legal system is hear the other side, audi alteram partem in Latin. So, okay, we heard your side of the story, you're very convincing, you have a lot of facts, you made a lot of passionate arguments, but what does the other guy say? I need him here so he can hear you and respond, and then I'll weigh them. That's the judge. There's two sides to the scale, not just one side of the scale. Hearing the other side is absolutely essential. Arthur's been having his church forever. It's not just in the last day or week or month. So why would the government go to court ex parte without telling Arthur that they're having this hearing? Is there an emergency? Is he going to, like the Anton Pillar case, he's going to run away? Is he going to destroy some document? He's not running away, that's the problem. He won't run away, he's stubborn that way. So why was it ex parte? Why wasn't he invited to court? Why wasn't he allowed to say his side of the story? Did we all just agree? Did they all get together and just agree amongst themselves? The cops, Alberta Health, and the judge, that just, better not invite someone with the other point of view. That might break up our furious agreement. What was the reason for ex parte? One of my very first things I did back at the law firm when I was an articling student was I got a restraining order against a guy on behalf of his girlfriend. She said he was violent. That's a perfect example of when you can do something ex parte, because there's an emergency risk. Time is of the essence. It's very important. It's just you don't want to delay for any reason, and you don't want to give the potential violent aggressor, heads up. So you go to court, you get the ex parte restraining order, you serve it on the bad guy. I think I probably told you that story before. He was actually in jail. I had to go into the jail to give it to him. But I still remember, it's been more than 20 years, but I remember on that court order, that restraining order, it said, you're restrained, don't go within this many feet of her, don't contact her, don't. But at the bottom it says, if you contest this, if this is wrong, come back to court within this period of time, and we'll hear your side. So even the judge is going to say, yeah, we'll give you a restraining order, very low hurdle, just come to court. Just basically, if you're a woman in distress, we will give you a restraining order. I'm not going to say no questions asked, but very few questions asked. And then the fella, it's right there on the restraining order, can come back to court and say, Your Honor, what are you doing? None of that is true. Here's proof. I actually need a restraining order against her, or vary it. So even in restraining orders, which you want to give ex parte, there's a way for the person you're tagging to say, whoa, you had that hearing without me. I demand to have a chance to say my side. Why does Arthur not have that same right? First of all, there was no reason to have a sneaky, speedy order against him. He's not going anywhere. This is not a breaking news. Oh my God, we've got to get this order right away. He's going to do something crazy. Like you might in a restraining order, like you might in an Anton Pillar situation. But here's the kicker. You saw Arthur talk about the lawyer we've crowdfunded for him. Sarah Miller at JSS Barristers in Calgary. She's been on his file for a year. Like I say, he was case number 1. He was the very first case we had in Fight the Fines. That was almost exactly a year ago, or just over a year ago. And Sarah did such a good job, she got the charge against him dropped for feeding the homeless. It's an insane thing that he was charged in the first place. But the reason I tell you that is the government knows he has a lawyer. How do I know that the government knows this? Because that lawyer, Sarah Miller, that we crowdfunded, very first case number 1, interact with the Crown, interact with the cops, convince them to drop the ticket. Oh, so they know her quite well. She beat them, right? Like that was great. We did a little victory lap when that happened. So why are they not talking to her? Okay, maybe Arthur's a bit of a wild man. Okay, I know Sarah, his lawyer, cool like Fonzie. Why are you not inviting her to this hearing? Why are you sneaking around? And you remember what he said on the doorstep? Talk to my lawyer. Why are they not talking to his lawyer? Don't tell me they don't know who his lawyer is. I know they know. Why are they harassing him? Is it to intimidate? Is it to try and provoke him to do something dumb, like hit them or something? He never would. Why did they have a secret hearing? Why did they have secret evidence? Why was it all in secret? Why did they not call the lawyer? Why did they not call the lawyer when he told them to call the lawyer? Why are they hiding from the lawyer? Something is rotten. You know what? I probably could have guessed if you would turn back the hands of time a year and say, Ezra, what do you think is going to happen with Arthur? I know Arthur a little bit. He may be the most stubborn man I've ever met in my life. I think he has had 100 interactions with the cops in Calgary. They hate his church. I don't know if it's the cops who do, or the health authorities, or the city hall. I don't know why they've got a vendetta against the guy. I mean, it's not to everyone's taste, fine. So each to their own. You got a city of 1.2 million people. You can have a variety of people. Just leave them alone. Do you want to call up the Viz from his very first one? People might not believe, people watching now who weren't watching a year ago, they might not believe that he was arrested for feeding the homeless. Ezra, you're exaggerating. Ezra, you're not telling the whole story. Oh yes, it was snowing. Sometimes it snows in April in Calgary. And just a background here, we're going to show you the footage in a second. There's homeless shelters, and there's drop-in residences, and there's soup kitchens and all these things. A lot of them have been shut down, or were shut down because of the pandemic, by the way. But even the places for homeless people to get in out of the cold, it was snowing in Calgary. They have some rules, right? If you're violent, they're going to kick you out. If you're drunk or on drugs, they're going to kick you out. If you try and, if you're like disturbing other people, they're going to kick you out. So you have the lowly who maybe get taken care of in these homeless shelters. But then you get those who are beneath the lowly, the lowliest. The people, frankly, some of them should probably be in institutional settings. Frankly, a lot of them have mental and physical illnesses. There are some people so low, they can't even get into a food bank, homeless shelter, men's shelter, whatever you want to call these things. The lowest of the low. No friends, no family, no future, probably unbalanced, probably high, whatever. I'm not judging, I'm describing. That's where Artur is. He is, like Mother Teresa went to the lowest of the low. You know, someone said, I wouldn't do that for a meal. But you know that old saying, I don't know if it's actually true, but it's apocryphal. Someone watched Mother Teresa changing the lepers' bandages and said, I wouldn't do that for $1 million. And she said, neither would I. So you've got the lowest of the low in Calgary, so low they can't even go in the homeless shelter. Who's going to feed them? Who's going to take care of them? No institution will. Artur Pawlowski, whatever else you have to say about him, whatever else you have to say, he's stubborn, he's loud, he's impolite, he's too right-wing, he's this, he's that. All right, let me, for the sake of argument, grant you every one of those things. Are you going out in the snow to feed the lowest of the low? He did. And the police called that an illegal gathering, physically pushed him, and fined him more than $1,000. You think I'm making it up, but I got the video. Take a look.
It was a man in Calgary who was actually feeding the homeless when he was given a ticket. You cannot make this up. Artur Pawlowski received a ticket of over $1,000 for feeding the homeless. Again, you cannot make this up.
This is not an event. This is not your picnic in a neighborhood for the fun of it. We are providing necessities of life to those that you and your bosses refuse to provide. You got all kinds of events happening right now, and yet the Calgary's finest are not bothering them. This is the hypocrisy of this city. This is the hypocrisy of our wonderful, fearless leaders. Where is Naheed Nenshi, the mayor of this city?
Can you guys do respectful social distance?
He's allowed to stand back from me a little bit. I need 8 feet.
Whoa.
I need 8 feet. Stand back. Okay?
Or what?
Stand
You're
back.
gonna threaten me and abuse me?
Hey, guys,
Do not do
6
that.
feet.
Tell him not
6
to
feet
touch
away.
me.
6 feet away for
Back up
everybody.
now.
That's for everybody.
The police surrounded Artur while he was in.
Artur was in the camo. That was his buddy who was being pushed around there. It was snowy out. It was cold out. He was feeding the homeless, and all these cops came, ticketed him, and pushed him around and said, move away, keep your distance. What an abusive bunch of cops. So you can see why that ticket was thrown out. I mean, I think Sarah's a good lawyer. In fact, I know she's a good lawyer. But frankly, a student lawyer, with those facts and that misconduct by the cops, could have probably got that ticket thrown out. So such is the abuse of the Calgary police force. Such is their vendetta against Artur. So now here we are 1 year later, and they just won't let him be, will they? So they're coming to his church, and they have a secret hearing with secret evidence that we have not yet seen, secret affidavits, without inviting Sarah there. Why? I say again, they knew he had a lawyer. We're going to fight this. I think it's going down this weekend. I mean, as I said to the team yesterday, you've got a irresistible force. You've got cops with guns. And you've got an immovable object. Stubborn Artur. How's that going to go down? Well, in the end, the guys with guns tend to win if they have the conviction to pull the triggers or to threaten to do so, or to punch or whatever, kick, whatever. Calgary police are the worst. Do you want to call up Ocean Wise? But I go to Save Ocean. Let's show that footage there. You know, Calgary is one of the, I can't say they're one of the worst places because Montreal is worse. And Toronto's worse. And the RCMP can be awful. And then there's that cop in Hampstead, New Brunswick. So, you know, you never want to say worst. It's like saying, well, who's the worst mayor? Well, I can always outdo you, no matter who you say. But the Calgary police are especially bad. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but around Christmas time, there was this 21-year-old hockey player on an outdoor rink that was open. Just to be clear, it was a public rink, open, wasn't closed. He was out there, outdoors. And a couple of affirmative action cops, diversity hires, and I say that because they don't meet the height and weight and strength requirements. They're like 5'0" female cops come there, and they're trying to get him off the rink, and he doesn't understand, he doesn't know why or whatever, and they just start kicking him and punching him, but he's just this big lug, and it's like being attacked by like a baby sheep or something. So like it's just so pitiful. So these affirmative action cops, in their rage at their impotence, pull out the taser. Well, first they go straight to the swearing, unprofessional conduct, and then they go to the taser. Unbelievable. Take a look.
Down on the ground. To me. Down on the ground.
Why are you guys grabbing? Dude, you guys just need to calm.
Hey, orcs.
Not pulling. Okay? Ocean, get on the ground.
Ocean.
Get on the ground.
Why are you right?
Get on the ground. Right now.
Ocean. Guys, please. Why
get on the ground before I taser you.
Ocean.
Right now.
Why are you tasering?
It was crazy. Like, I was so shocked. Like, I came.
That cop is out of control. Would you want that? She cannot control her emotions. She can't control the world around her. That causes her feelings of impotence, rage, and she realizes that she truly is unqualified to be a cop. She doesn't have the skills, she doesn't have the command, the charisma. She just cannot assert herself on the world around her. So her impotence, her frustration, her realization that in fact she is a diversity hire causes that next reaction, rage and overcompensation, incoherent, unprofessional swearing, and then pulling out a taser and pointing it at a guy because he's standing on an outdoor rink. Was he armed? Did he have a knife or a gun? Was he? No, it's just that cop was completely unprofessional, and she works for a completely unprofessional, rotten to the core police force. So I don't think the Calgary police force are as corrupt as the Montreal police force. I mean, they're in a whole, that's a whole other league. I don't think they're as professionally brutal as the Toronto police force, because the Toronto police force loves, I mean, it's such a big city, they have occasions to be brutal pretty much every day. But Calgary, for like a regional city, is sure trying hard with that. Like, would you want that out of control, emotionally hair trigger, quick to pull a weapon cop attending either to arrest you or to save you? I would want to be away from that person. She will cause crimes and cause harm. I think that whatever is going on in the community will solve itself better without her presence there. I can't even believe she still has a badge. Let's read some chats. So we have the different platforms. YouTube has suspended our super chats because they're censors that way, but you can see in the top of the chat box there's a permanent comment that takes you to our live Streamlabs. We got 1,500 people on YouTube. We have 1,800 people on Rumble. Same thing there. You can use that Streamlabs business. And we have 63 folks on Odyssey. Nice to see you. And they have the hyper chat thing there, which is another way of, that's what they call their super chat. So let's just jump in. Have you been sending these to me? On my WhatsApp, there we go. Thank you for that. Mama Heidi donated $4. So tired of the Grace masked charade. So tired of these lies. Thank you for real reporting. Is that from yesterday? Is that from today? That was from today. Okay, thanks very much for that. Monsieur Bastille donated $2.44. Allons enfants de la patrie. Le jour de gloire est arrivé. Contre nous de la tyrannie. L'étendard sanglant. I'm not going to punish you with my awful French pronunciation. You please accept my apologies. Let's go, children of the patriotism. The day of our glory has arrived against us, the tyranny. I'm not going to try and do that. I just thank you for your French comments. I wish my French was better. Donna, $2 since you are over 1,000,000 of fight the 1,058 cases of fight the fines. Does that mean Rebel News won't hire a lawyer for new people who get tickets, as I thought you were only helping 1,000. I also like David Menzies' questions of Rocco Galati and police officers going to court. Thank you for that question. I received a legal bill. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going from memory. I think it was $128,000 for, we get monthly bills. Can you imagine getting a monthly legal bill of $128,000 and not pee in your pants? And when I got that bill, and I talked to the lawyer, and we had a modest reduction in it, and I appreciate that, but still over 6 figures. We said to the team, look, there's 3 things that can happen. We can stop taking cases, because it's not just these monthly bills, we have an enormous liability. What if these things all go to court? Now, I'm hoping they won't. The other is stop. Sorry, was that the first one? Yeah, the first was stop taking them. The second one was keep taking them and go bankrupt. And the third was just tell our people we really need to keep crowdfunding because we're over 1,000. We have 1,058. So let me tell you, I'm not going to jeopardize the success of Rebel News so we can add another 100, 200, 500 fight the fines. That makes no sense. Rebel News must survive. But I don't want to stop, right? So I don't want to wreck the company by incurring $1 million of legal fees. But I don't want to stop helping people because I think we need more help than ever. Things are about to get bad in Alberta. They're going to bring in curfews, which is insane. So the third way is just to tell our people, and I know I'm behind, I have to do a video on this. In fact, I was going to show people this $128,000 whatever bill, and I'm going to say, look, we got 3 choices. Go bankrupt. I can't allow that to happen. I have a duty to our viewers, to our staff, to not wreck the company over this. Obviously, I won't let that happen. So one choice is stop taking new cases. The other choice is to go bankrupt, and the third choice is just to tell people, if you believe in this still, please help. And helping's a little easier. As you know, a couple weeks ago, we made an arrangement whereby a registered CRA-compliant charity called the Democracy Fund will issue charitable tax receipts for Fight the Fines because it's part of their civil liberties litigation mandate. So not all the things we do at Rebel News are charitable, obviously, but helping people, especially low-income people, frankly, defend their civil liberties, that actually is a charitable purpose according to the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency. So anyone who donates money to Fight the Fines in Canada gets a tax receipt. So if you donate $100, it's slightly different depending on your province, but you're getting about $20 back on tax time. And actually, the more you give, the more you get back in your taxes because you're getting that higher tax rate. I think. I don't. You can see the calculations. The Red Cross. You want to throw the Red Cross calculations up there? I don't want to do this from memory because I'm not. I don't. It's slightly different province by province. But let's say you were thinking of giving $100 before we had the charity. So Red Cross has a donor account. Yeah. So you type in $100. So select Ontario, type $100, calculate. Okay, so you get $20 off your taxes. So it only costs you $80. Now type in, let's say you're a big shot. Type in, oh boy, 1,000, yeah. 361, so now you're only paying, what's the math on that? 640. So you're actually getting 50% more bang for your buck. Well, what happened if someone gave 10,000? I'm just having fun. Almost $4,000 off. Now, I'm not saying give 10 grand, because that's, you got to be extremely wealthy to afford that. But you see how it really starts to kick in. So if you're a very, very wealthy person, I shouldn't have put that up there. I was just curious what it would say, really. But if you really are that wealthy, and you really care about civil liberties, do you see why this charity is so important? Because before we had this charity helping us on this project, 10 grand, that's just gone. That's after-tax dollars. But imagine 10 grand, you get 4 grand back. So either, it's better for, or maybe you decide, well, I'm gonna give more then because I got the tax relief. So that's part of our solution for taking more than 1,000 people, is I'm hoping that people will say, oh, okay, I could use the I was just joking around with the 10,000, but $100, if it's only costing you 80, here's another way I put it, and I think this rings true for some people. When you're paying your taxes, that money's going to Trudeau's government and what province are you in? Doug Ford's government, John Horgan's government. That's where your taxes will go, right? You got your federal income tax, you got a provincial income tax. So this charity tax receipt reduces what you pay to Trudeau and Ford. That's exactly what it does, right? Because you get that tax credit for that receipt. So let me ask you this. If you have to pay taxes, and we all do, would you rather pay that money to Justin Trudeau or to fight the fines? You tell me. I think it's awesome. By the way, I made a donation myself. In fact, I wasn't the first, someone beat me to it, but I was one of the first donors to the Democracy Fund's Fight the Fines project. I think I was like donor number 3. All right, that's a long answer to the question. Bruce B., as always, Ezra, thanks for what you do, giving others the ability to share the other side. You have a great team. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Adam's doing a great job from Calgary. He's working, so he's got a great work ethic, and he gets it. Susan the Rebel in Kamloops, BC, $16 in regards to your interview with Mark from ClimateDepot.com. Is there anything we can do? How do we organize our rebellion? Oh, brother, I mean, it's just on all sides, right? Where it feels like we're surrounded. I think that on the climate side, the global warming side, I think people like to say, oh yeah, I'm worried about global warming, because they know that that's the polite thing to say. But you say, all right, well, how much extra are you willing to pay the pump for that? Like, really, how much extra are you willing to pay on your grocery bill, on your, like, if you really make it real life for people, they say, oh no, I didn't mean that. Yeah, I don't know if that's a tiny part of the answer. El Chupacabra, $50. Well, that's very nice. Thank you. The patch workers in Grand Prairie won't put up with any curfews if they come this way. I expect to see a lot of pushback. Thanks for the coverage, Ezra. Oh, yeah. I mean, I know what a curfew is. A curfew is what parents do to children. Be back by 9. Be back before sundown, children, because you're children. We're treating adults like children. The virus doesn't somehow become deadly at 8 p.m. That's just politicians using the virus to control you. When I saw that news yesterday, at first I thought it was like a joke. You have a clip? Let's play the clip.
I'm announcing today that starting tomorrow, we'll be putting in new targeted COVID-19 measures in place to help protect the health system and to drive cases down. I know that many people don't want to see additional measures, and I know that we're all tired of this pandemic and are desperate to just move on. Where needed, we will implement a curfew where case rates are significantly high, specifically if cases are 1,000 or more per 100,000 population. and in cases where the municipal government requests it. These restrictions are so that are in target areas where cases are highest. If your community is not seeing high levels of spread, you won't see change. And I know that it's been a long road. I know many people will not want to take another step in this direction of more stringency, but we must. AHS and law enforcement will continue taking enforcement and issuing fines for non-compliance. And to ensure Albertans take these fines seriously, we are adding additional backstops with stronger fine collection and actions with restrictions at registry services. So that means if you are given a fine and you're not taking it seriously, you don't pay it, you will not be able to, for example, renew your driver's license, and there will be other implications with respect to registry services. These fines won't affect the majority of folks who are following the rules and are doing their part to keep our communities safe. But rather, this is for the people who aren't taking the pandemic seriously and continue to put others at risk by not following the public health orders in place.
There's a lot in there. The first thing is, oh, I know we're all tired of this. That's manifestly not true. The entire public health deep state is loving it. They've never had more importance. They've never had more power. They've never had more celebrity. I mean, for God's sakes, what's her name? Bonnie Henry out there in BC. She wrote a book about herself in the middle of the pandemic. It's such an emergency. She found, 200 hours to write a book about herself. Can you go to my tweet on the subject and pull up the chart? I want to show you. If you were to watch that and not know any better, you would think that Albertans are in mortal danger. That's cases. Oh my God. That's cases. Okay, it's hospital. Go to deaths. Go to deaths. What's the death rate like in Alberta? There's all these cases. It's that blue chart. Yeah, scroll down a bit. Just click on deaths. Scroll down, scroll. There we go. Can you zoom in just one notch? So underneath it, scroll down just 1 inch. Daily COVID-19 attributed deaths. So you can see this is since the very beginning. So last year it was about 5 people a day. Then it sort of calmed down over the summer, and then in November, December, January, it got up to 25 people a day. And then that pretty much ended in February, and there's a little bump there in March, but March, April. So what's that number now? I can't quite, 1. There's one death yesterday. I'm very sorry about the loss. There are 4.5 million people in Alberta. One of them died yesterday from the virus, and I'm very sorry to hear that. But if you look at this graph, and you're telling me we need a curfew, I'm telling you, you don't need a curfew, you want a curfew. And did you hear what he said about registry? So it was quite something there. I want to dig into the details, but if I heard him right, he said, if you don't pay your fine, we will take away your driver's license. Oh, so you can't work. So you can't feed your family. We're going to lock you down, and if you want to live, we're going to lock you down another way so you can't drive. Now, I want to look into what that really means, because when you get a ticket, that's like an accusation. It's not a judge. There's no little people's court sitting on the side of the road when you get a ticket. It's an accusation, and you can plead guilty, or you can say, no, I wasn't speeding. I want a judge to look at this. So getting a ticket is not the same as it's over. That's one side of the story. And as we pointed out, and I know this because we have 1,058 cases. What was the number? I think 26 of them we've won, but most of them have not had their day in court. So I think some of that is bluffing, but you're not convicted until you're convicted. Just because some tyrannical, power-hungry, shrieking, swearing, taser sporting cop says, "Here's your ticket." Yeah, thanks very much for that. That's a ticket. That's not a conviction. That's what you say, and we'll see you in court in 2 years if it ever comes to it. So I think that's a lot of BS there, designed to terrify people. But I have to say, in regards to the earlier question on the Super Chat, if they really bring in a curfew in Alberta, motto, strong and free, I will not jeopardize the strength of Rebel News. I will not recklessly say, we'll take 100,000 cases. We couldn't afford that. But you're darn straight I would do my best to crowdfund enough to defend 1,000 Albertans on this curfew business. Curfew. That's War Measures Act stuff. That's terrorist FLQ crisis stuff. I do not accept that. I cannot accept that. I cannot accept it. Perfect. Yeah. So go down to the bottom left. On the chart on the left, I meant to say. So let's slow down here for a second. This is the number of people who have died. You see the word deceased there? That's a fancy way of saying died. Green means you died only from the COVID. Dark blue, you had one underlying comorbidity. Comorbidity is a fancy way of saying also sick with. Light blue is 2. Pink is 3. What does that mean? What's a comorbidity? They have a list of them here. Scroll up or down to find them. Scroll just a little bit up here, a little bit up. These are called comorbidities. Hypertension, dementia, diabetes, cancer, stroke, liver disease. These are serious. So this isn't, I got a sore throat. This is like diabetes, cancer. So scroll down a bit. What's that pink number on the left? On the far left. So 76% of people who died have not 1, not 2, but 3 or more comorbidities. In fact, that little green sliver at the bottom, you can barely see it. What's that, like 2%? 2.6% of people who have died from the virus have just died from the virus. The average age, I think, I happen to know in Alberta, it's 81. So why you have are there a lot of 81-year-olds with diabetes, dementia, and cancer just ripping it up at 10 o'clock at night? Are there lots of people in their 90s who have liver disease and hypertension just giving her at the bar at 11 p.m.? When you're bringing in a curfew, are you doing anything other than public health theater? What a disgrace. All right, it's 12:57. I got to keep on trucking here. Punk, 0, $5. Are schools allowed to force a 7-year-old to wear a mask at school? And if so, why are they forced to wear the Made in China school's mask and not his own? Please point me in the right direction. It's a disgrace what they're doing to children. It's disgusting that they're mandating masks and there being mask recalls, especially for masks made in China. There was a school board, I think it was in the United States, where parents sort of mobbed the school board, demanded that they resign over this mask issue. The board did, and anti-mask parents elected their own board. I don't know if you can find that quickly. I don't think there's such courage in Canada. Dr. $5, even more irritated by the lockdowns now, especially that I just paid my taxes. Yeah, me too. Pipeline, $8. What you think about Arizona recount? Came in late. Sorry if you're already. I didn't cover it, and I'm not up to speed on it. Crime Minister, $2. Those French comments you received earlier were the lyrics to La Marseillaise, the French national anthem. Considering how strong the patriotic lyrics are, I'm shocked that globalists haven't canceled the anthem. Yeah, good point. I was going to guess that's what it was, but I didn't want to guess because I didn't know them. Phrasebo, $16. Fraser McBurney. Hamiltonians, don't forget to join us at 12 noon, Sunday, May 2nd, in front of Hamilton City Hall. We've, our own Efron Monsanto's from Hamilton, and he's been covering that. Selena, should we expect coverage on Rocco Galati lawsuit against the government? I hear they're going to be filing their paperwork soon. Shout out to Justin. He doesn't have that guitar handy, but he waves back at me. I got to read that lawsuit. I haven't seen it. I don't know what the cause of action is. Donna, if someone has to pay for their own lawyer for fighting the fines, what is the average cost? Thanks. It's tough to say. There's different kinds of fines, and they're of different complexity. If it's just a plain old ticket, that's different than if it's a summons. Sometimes there's even criminal charges. Sometimes tickets come in threes. Like last night, our own Yankee got 3 tickets at once, or a couple nights ago. Listen, how expensive is a lawyer? It's the whole range. Frankly, some people can fight their own tickets. You just have to have some familiarity and confidence. I don't think you're going to find a lawyer who will take a case. I just don't think you're going to find one who will take a case for, even the easiest case, for under $1,500. So you see the situation I'm in. If I have 1,058 cases, and we're getting another 10 a day, and you times that by $1,500, or even, what's that? That's $1.5 million, right? I don't have $1.5 million. But the thing is, it's not all due at once, because you get the ticket, the law firm onboards you, interviews you. Depending on the facts, they might seek what's called disclosure from the Crown. That's where the government, the police, gives you what their notes on you are, whatever evidence they have. They have to give that to you. So I don't want to get into it because we have lawyers in different jurisdictions. We have lawyers in Quebec. I think things are slightly different there. In fact, I know they are. So I don't owe $1.5 million all at once, but I told you I got a bill for $128,000. But watching that curfew announcement makes me want to say, damn the torpedoes, we're taking another 1,000 cases. I just have to crowdfund it, that's all. It makes me nervous to get out on a limb, but you have to do the work first and then ask for help later. You can't say, hey guys, will you chip in for me to cover? It doesn't work that way. You got to do it and then say, hey everybody, help me. That's my view. That old saying, if you build it, they will come. If I was just saying, hey guys, I have an idea called Fight the Fines. Can you give me some money now? And I promise I will later on hire lawyers and help people. That wouldn't work. You got to prove it. Get a lawyer, get a client, show you can do it. Okay, now can you do it again? Now can you do it again? Now can you do it 1,000 times? Okay, now that you got a proven system, and people can kick the tires and say, okay, is it real? Are these lawyers any good? What's your success rate? Tell us the story. What are you doing? Prove it. So we have that approach here at Rebel. We call it build and they will come. We didn't invent that phrase. I think that's from Field of Dreams or something. But when I see that curfew talk corresponded to the chart showing that one person died in Alberta yesterday, I'm sorry anyone dies, but we're all going to die of something. Average age 81, average comorbidities 3. So you got a bunch of 90-year-olds who are extremely sick, but you bring in the curfew because they're out partying. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. Trace Lynn, $4. Love the work you're doing. Keep it up. We will get our country back. Thanks, Trace Lynn. Commie Canada, $2. Remember, Ezra, the news stated there were 0 flu cases in Alberta over the winter. Sure. What's the odds that some of them were just diagnosed? I saw the other day there was like a $7,000 COVID funeral payment in some jurisdiction. Well, who wouldn't say, yeah, my grandpa died of COVID too. Can I get $7,000? I forget what jurisdiction that was in. You know how much money you get for your funeral when your grandpa or great-grandpa dies from any other cause? You get 0. So if you're getting, see if you can find that. So if you're getting $7,000 for saying it's COVID, do you think maybe you have an incentive? FEMA overwhelmed by calls on first day to apply for $9,000 for COVID-19 funeral expenses. What's the date on that? So imagine all of a sudden, hey guys, free money. All you have to do is say Grandpa died for And 9,000, I don't know how much a funeral costs, but do you think there's a teeny tiny chance that some funeral parlors would give you a kickback on that? Like, do you think there's just this 1 in a gazillion chance that a funeral parlor might say, hey, we'll charge you $9,000, and if you give us that FEMA money, we'll kick $1,000 of it back to you? What do you think the chances of that are? 1 in a gazillion, or more like a certainty? Shepherd Jose, $8. Thanks for all you and Rebel team do. Ezra, want to ask viewers to keep an eye on Bill C-10. Also, the Twitter account, the Evenbaker Project, and related accounts. They are characterizing us as alt-right, Nazis, etc., pushing for censorship. Yeah, it sounds like some sort of a scam, just like the Lincoln Project is in the U.S. Humongous, $4. I trust these politicians and bureaucrats to act in good faith and for my benefit, like I trust a guy on a unicycle. There you go, attaboy. You know what? We had a lively debate after the show was over on unicycles. If I recall the study right, 5% of guys admire a unicyclist. And we got a 5%er working here at Rebel News. And we're an extremely diverse workplace. We had a vegetarian here for a while. So I want to let you know that. And people weren't even that mean to her. So we're extremely tolerant. There was a vegetarian, and there's a unicycle sympathizer. And I'm totally fine with it. I'm not clenching my fists. I'm kidding. Listen, I agree with you. You know, a place for everything and everything in its place. I believe there is a place for unicycles. It's called the circus. Dr. $5 wanted to mention Mike Kipling, a former Royal Canadian Air Force sergeant, retired, who was serving in Kuwait in '98, refused the anthrax vaccine. They tried to court-martial him, but the judge, Colonel Guy Bray, sided with him. Isn't that interesting? You know, I didn't know that. I'm gonna look into that. I mean, how would I know that? But it's good to know that. I'd like to see if there's any precedent or something there. One last chat. Oh, two. Kami Cannon, never trust a person who can only afford to travel on one wheel. You know, yeah, it's just gonna. Yeah, I was just thinking, like, we've got all these little phrases. I was thinking of putting together, like, the top 10, like, almost the Rebel News 10 Commandments. Like, what are some of the things we say? Telling the other side of the story, follow the facts wherever they lead, build that they will come. Like, we have about 10 little sayings like that. And I was thinking, why don't we put the 10 of them, sort of like 10 Commandments on how to be a rebel. Never trust a person who can only afford to travel on one wheel. It's not a money issue. It's not a money issue. In fact, I bet a unicycle is more expensive than a bicycle. Suzanne donated $5 to all you Rebel News. Thank you for your service. Love you guys. Well, thank you very much for that. It's 1:07, but there's just one more thing. I got to call at 1:15? Okay, so I got to go. I saw a montage of Joe Biden coughing. And no, that's not interesting, but if Donald Trump were coughing like this when he was president, it'd be front page news in the New York Times. You know it would be. Take a look at this.
And now, most or 10 million, including so second wonders, and they were working. Thank you, Georgia. You know your love.
Obviously, that's a highlight reel, a mashup, a supercut. But that's a lot of coughing, and it sounded like a deep sort of chest cough. How old is he? 78? Is he 79 yet? He's not going to finish his term, is he? Like, do you think he's 78? Do you think he's going to finish his term as president? I don't think so. I don't think he's mentally all there. I don't think he's physically there. And I think Kamala Harris is absolutely going to be president. Or someone else is. Now maybe it'll be Weekend at Bernie's, they'll just prop him up and have a hidden hand behind things. I don't think Kamala Harris has the temperament, the judgment, the experience, the knowledge, the wisdom to be president. So maybe they just prop up Weekend at Bernie's, Weekend at Biden's. Kamala does the public events, and they have someone else behind the scenes. Who that is, I do not know. I'm going to wrap up now because apparently I got a phone call at 1:15. I got to remember who that is. So I'm going to say goodbye now. Do we have a dog video? Thanks everybody for watching. Right now there's 1,300 people watching on the censorship channel at YouTube, 68 people on Odyssey, what a pleasure to have you, and 1,600 plus on Rumble. And I'm excited because I think by next week there's a chance we'll be on another platform, another Canadian-based platform. I don't know their timing yet, but they're just testing out the final moves. So that could be very exciting. We'll tell you about that when that's public. So goodbye, everybody. I'll see you tonight for those of you who watch my Rebel News Plus, we call it, behind the paywall. Until then, I'll leave you with a dog video curated by Justin.